Last night I had no intention of watching any television because I'm just bored by it all. It's the same stuff over and over again, the same people over and over again. But then I heard that Ann Coulter was going to be on the Laura Ingraham show. So I said, oh, well, that I will watch. Boy, oh, boy, oh, boy. Ann Coulter's on with me right now. Ann, 52 minutes I had to wait for you to be on that show last night. And then you were like gone before I, could appreciate your commentary. What was that all about?
Yes, it was a little disappointing, especially because I really wanted to talk to Laura, a lawyer, one of the few lawyers hosting a TV show,
right,
about this nonsense of Republicans, and I might add all of these allegedly hardline, lobbying groups in Washington on immigration for just DACA. Okay, we'll give you amnesty, but just for DACA,
right.
And we want these, three things in return. No, that was not Trump's campaign, and there's a reason he won an overwhelming victory in the Electoral College despite all odds and being a very unusual candidate. It's one thing and you understand it, but Laura would understand immediately where a line is written in the law is generally not, and sometimes particularly not where the law will be drawn in practice.
Right.
This is something lawyers learn about over and over again with the Coase theorem out of Chicago, but particularly in this case, we've tried drawing this line before, and we know what happens when it gets to the government and it gets to the courts. There is no way you can have any amnesty for the most narrow group of people, which is why you know you're being lied to whenever you hear the phrase "children brought here through no fault of their own." That is a lie. It will be an amnesty. It will be a complete amnesty for everyone because that is how it will be interpreted by the government. That is absolutely how it will be interpreted by any Democratic administrations, and that's how it will be interpreted by the courts. This is what happened with the 1986 amnesty. There was one part of it written, of course, by Chuck Schumer. He has a history of fooling Republicans.
Right.
It would be a very, very narrow amnesty just to reward hardworking illegal immigrants who were preventing Americans from starvation, stopping crops from rotting on the fields. If they could prove they had worked at least 3 months on a farm in the previous year, they would be eligible for amnesty. Immediately, it just became an open-ended amnesty with everyone applying, getting it, people who weren't even in the country when they were supposed to be doing farm work, alleged, hardworking farm worker immigrants who thought cotton was purple and talked about pulling cherries from the ground. Nearly 1 million applications that were determined by the INS to be fraudulent were approved.
Nonetheless.
We've seen this happening with Trump's executive order, at which he has full constitutional and statutory authority to say we are not taking immigrants. In fact, he can say we're not taking immigrants who are redheads or left-handers. He could say we're not taking immigrants who don't come up to here on the height chart for any reason. No, he just says these countries. Absolutely 100% constitutional, specifically his statutory authority. And what happens? A Hawaii judge
right.
and the Ninth Circuit says, oh, no. Now we have a Ninth Circuit judge saying he can't suspend an unconstitutional executive order announced by Obama. Mm-hmm. So no DACA amnesty.
Right.
I put out a contest a few months ago. Never really got a winner on this for a different name for dreamers. I started with ingrates, but we have our winner now, Howie Carr, a fellow radio broadcaster.
Sure,
you call them the Nightmares.
The Nightmares. Well, listen, in many instances, that's exactly right. And you are so on the money when it comes to the ever-expanding, no matter what you say in the beginning, government will turn it into a general rule. Or, if not, the ACLU will sue and say you can't afford this to this group and not to this group. That's discrimination. And then it's game over.
Yes, absolutely include criminals, even without a dreamer or a nightmare amnesty on the books. In a single year, 2013, Obama released from custody hundreds of criminal aliens, murderers, rapists. And famously, an incident described in my book, Adios America, in the I think it was the 6 months, a run up to the 1996 election, the Clinton administration, coming from the White House, they ordered the INS. We want pedal to the metal. We want 1 million illegals legalized in time to vote for me. Mm-hmm. They had the INS. What was her name? Doris Meisner working. INS was working 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, just processing applications. I went to work for the Senate Judiciary Committee, where I was after that. We looked through these applications and, again, found hundreds of murderers and rapists who were made citizens in order to get 1 million new Democratic voters for Bill Clinton. That's without an amnesty on the books.
Right.
No, the reason we voted for Trump was for deportations and a wall, not for, here, just this little amnesty for, children brought here through no fault of their own. Anyone who says that is a liar and is trying to grant a full and complete unconditional amnesty. None of the requirements attached to these laws, the ones about, I also go through in Adios America, English language requirement. Oh, no, that was thrown out by the INS. Have to pay a fee. No, that was thrown out by the INS. Have to pay back taxes. That was thrown out by the IRS. There are no requirements that will be met. We've done this over and over again.
Exactly.
It is 100% amnesty. There can be no DACA amnesty. And this idea that, the Republicans' first offer is, okay, we will give you amnesty. Now, here are our little requirements.
In a month.
Our position is, wall, no amnesty ever. And, maybe we won't rush on deporting some of the deserving illegals.
Right. No, and what's amazing to me is that, last night they surrounded Chuck Schumer's house chanting, if Chuck won't let us dream, we won't let him sleep. They shut down the front of Disneyland in Southern California 3 days ago. And these are the people that are being represented as so valuable to this country. I like ingrate. I'm going with ingrate. I've never seen a group that got so much and hated us so much.
No, I know the entitlement mentality. I just can't imagine sneaking into another country, violating their laws, and then demanding that they amnesty me. Yesterday, what is taking you so long? No, I think it is not an accident. I keep seeing people like David Axelrod and Donna Brazile and, Democrats gloating, whoa, Republicans better watch out when we put those desirable, those innocent, those adorable dreamers on TV. Whoa, is the public sentiment going to change? Well, okay, we've been talking about this for a decade now. How come I never see any dreamers on MSNBC? I think there's a reason for that. They can't find a good one.
Right. Well, we keep seeing them, but they're like protesting at Nancy Pelosi gatherings. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. But I have to ask you, because you are an attorney, and I have to cover as much ground with you as I can when we speak. What do you make of all this stuff with the FBI? And as an attorney, would you let Donald Trump talk to this special prosecutor? Because I'm not an attorney and I don't play one on TV. But there's no way in hell I would sit him in an open investigation and allow him to answer questions. They just want to trip him up.
Yes, both very good questions. As for Trump going in and answering questions, the issue is not that Trump has done anything wrong. I mean, this is true if you are the most tertiary third-party witness. When I heard the Linda Tripp tapes before Ken Starr did, for those of you who remember the impeachment business, I had been doing quietly legal work for Paula Jones and her attorneys, along with some of my friends. I told them, don't tell me anything I'm not supposed to know because I'm going on TV, but I can take an interrogatory. I can write briefs. Mm-hmm. And it turned out Linda Tripp's lawyer, a friend of mine, Jim Moody, he had to listen to the tapes before he turns them over to the prosecutor, to Ken Starr. And he had a 1950s tape player, and he keeps hitting buttons and another one of the elves, as we called ourselves, George Conway, called me up and said, Ann, I'm afraid Moody is about to destroy the crucial evidence in this case. We know you're a deadhead. Can we come over and use your taping machine? Mm-hmm. So they came over at like 3 a.m. We're hunched by my speakers listening to the tapes. As a consequence of that, simply allowing them to use my tape player, though I was listening, Ken Starr's investigators wanted to talk to me. Mm-hmm. Oh, you bet I hired an attorney. And it cost me a lot of money. Why? Because if I say they came over at 3 a.m. and they determined, no, they came over at 2 a.m. or something like that, that could be a lying to investigators crime. You need your own attorney there. That's when you don't have investigators who are out specifically trying to screw you. Right. So, yeah, I mean, I'd try to do it as a written interrogatory. I'd want to know what the questions, why he needs to be interviewed, and I would have a battery of attorneys with me to make sure there are other witnesses there and there isn't some misinterpretation that's being called lying to investigators.
Yeah. And by the way, the book that Ann wrote back in the late 90s, High Crimes and Misdemeanors, is where I had my political awakening because I had no idea just how well, Bill Clinton, I knew he was a bad guy, but I had no idea the level to which he had sunk, and the book opened my eyes, and certainly. And
what Democrats can get away with. I remember thinking during that time, there is absolutely no way, if a Republican president were doing this, that my friends, 90% of Republican senators wouldn't have been saying, you got to go or we're going to impeach you. You cannot. And that, if I have time, I'd just like to say on the destroyed FBI text.
Yes.
I mean, that was the underlying, one of the shocking things about the Bill Clinton case. One of the things I noticed at the time was the most liberal lawyer, and I had and was moving back to New York, lived in New York, was moving back to New York. I know a lot of liberal lawyers. Mm-hmm. Every lawyer was shocked and really disgusted by what Bill Clinton had done, because what lawyers do for a living is meaningless. You can have no system of laws if people will destroy evidence, as Bill Clinton had done, if they will lie under oath, if they will suborn witnesses' perjury. He was being sued for having violated the civil rights law. A governor of a state cannot, it's a form of discrimination to be sexually harassing, i.e. calling Paula Jones up to a hotel room, dropping your pants and saying kiss it. That is a violation of federal law. There's no question that it happened, but he was preventing her from getting evidence by destroying evidence, giving it to Betty Curry, his secretary, suborning, getting jobs for Monica so that she would lie to investigators, lying himself over and over and over again. That is what is pretty shocking about the missing FBI texts. I don't know what you think about in your normal life, but when you work at a law firm, one thing you know absolutely is if this is going to be evidence, no destroying it. The entire law firm goes to prison if you do that.
Exactly. But, nothing will come of this. That's what's so frightening to me, is that it's being dismissed and poo-pooed on all the major networks. It's like it's not even a story. They want to know what Jeff Sessions said in his testimony before Robert Mueller. That's all they're talking about.
It's true, though. I will say I do want to see the texts. I mean, I hate talking about anything. I do want to hear more. I want to see them. And I don't know why, and maybe I don't have this right, but I thought a president can declassify whatever he wants. I really wish President Trump would just declassify these texts so we can actually see what we're talking about rather than arguing about leaks about what the texts say, because they sound pretty damaging. And the missing texts, I mean, we need to know the dates on that. When did they go missing and how did they go missing? Because that is a really serious crime, and it's the only thing that looks like it could be a serious crime so far on either side of the equation. I mean, everything they're describing as obstruction of justice for the president is the president carrying out the duties of president.
Right.
Of course, he's allowed to fire his own employees. Now, if that's done with intent to an obstruction investigation, but at the same time, we know that Comey himself had told Trump, you aren't under investigation.
Right.
So he's entitled to hire Comey if he thinks Comey is wasting resources on some idiotic wild goose chase. That is his job. Mm-hmm. It's hard for me to see an obstruction case there, again, not knowing all of the facts, but I know most of the facts in that case, whereas the missing emails, that looks very, very bad. That's usually what we're talking about in an obstruction of justice case.
Yeah, 18 minutes of Rosemary Wood's deletion brought down Richard Nixon. So,
Right.
I think 5 months' worth of FBI texts might be a little more serious. Ann, thank you so much. And again, if anybody uses you to make me watch an entire show that bored me to death until you came on, I'm not talking to them anymore. Right? Because that was
true friend, Joyce Kaufman.
Yeah, that was torture, man. Anyway, thank you so much. Talk to you soon, Ann.
Talk to you